I'm Sean Faulkner, and today I'm going to be giving an informative speech on the knowledge and attitude of homosexuality. About 18 months ago, I was sitting with a pastor, and we were talking about the homosexuality rate and how it continues to increase in America today. We were talking about how it's okay whether or not we pastor them through their struggle. And to be quite honest, I left that conversation with a negative taste in my mouth. I wasn't pleased with the conversation that I had. And so a year ago, this May, I did a research paper on the knowledge and attitude of homosexuality. I was curious to find whether or not the older you got, if it had any effect on whether you thought homosexuality was okay. So as I did the research for my paper, I continued to find a couple gentlemen by the name of Strauss and Howe, and they gave me a lot of base layers for my paper. For that specific paper, I also had to do my own research, and that consisted of 112 different surveys given out to obviously different people. The research methods to find the statistics behind those, I also had to do. Some of the things that I want to hit on that I believe shows the increase in knowledge of homosexuality, which then gives a more positive attitude as you become younger. I think we have found some reasons for that. The first thing I want to talk about is generations. There are a handful of generations that are currently living. The three main ones are the baby boomer generation, Generation X, and the millennials. Baby boomer generation started approximately right after World War II and ended after the assassination of John F. Kennedy. The Generation X started after the assassination to 1980, and then the millennial generation started from 1981 to the present day. When we look at generations, we realize that there are different personalities. These generations, in some way, shape, or form, have minds of their own. And these generations are based on, obviously, the time and date, the surroundings, like economics and presidents, industries, and as they go through, when you look at Generation X, you'll see that music is heavily involved in Generation X, or basically Generation X may be also dubbed as the major hippie generation. So obviously a lot of drugs and the rad music and the Volkswagens, and as you get older, you move into more of an open feel, arms open, arms understanding, personalities understanding. When you look at generations, we'll move into the second point, and that's an archetype. Strauss and Howe came up with these archetypes. There's 4 archetypes, and basically this is giving a name for each generation, a name for the personality of that generation, how they look at things, why they look at things, how they respond to people. One of the things you'll find, for example, in my research, we realized and found out that the older you are, the less knowledge you have about homosexuality. Because the less knowledge you have about homosexuality, the negative attitude came along with that. As you continue to grow younger, the amount of knowledge grew. Therefore, the attitude of homosexuality also was more of in a positive light. This is for a couple reasons that we found out, and that is these archetypes. A baby boomer generation would be the prophet. They were born into greatness. They were born into a happy time. The poverty level was low, whereas the poverty level is a little higher today. The economic standpoint, the amount of jobs were higher, whereas we've lost a couple of jobs. We had just won the war. Suburbia was huge. They were what they thought invincible. The way they lived life was the right way. In this this research that we have done, we realized that because they are so strong in their views, when it comes to different ways of them living or other people living, it's harder for them to accept. What we find in the millennial generation is that we are very much more accepting. We are the archetype of the hero. What is a hero? They come in and save the day. They figure out new ways to make things work. They figure out how life is gonna continue to move forward. These two things I think are very important when we look at homosexuality and how it is in our culture and how we're going to deal with it through each generation. It's important for no matter what job you're in, whether you're a pastor or a teacher or a counselor, we have to be able to understand where everyone is coming from, understand that there are different ways of life, and that not all of those are wrong. Just because it looks different, not all of them are wrong. So today we've covered two different things in generations and archetypes. I believe this is important for simple understanding. The research shows, the research is proven that the older you are, the less knowledge you have, which means the negative attitude. The younger you are, the more positive attitude, because of the amount of knowledge. So what is it that Americans are doing today to increase the knowledge of homosexuality?